and legal constraints, they cannot go ahead with the recommendations by the committee. So they will have to stick with Baba Jamal, who emerged winner of that very primaries. So Baba Jamal represented the party in that by-election. But the party went on to say, well, they will add two more people to the committee so they could develop a framework on how best they could nip vote buying in the bud, because they do have a big exercise coming up, internal elections coming up this year. So they are looking to contain that very menace, especially as they look to elect their various leaders at the branch level, constituency level, regional level, even on the national level. But let's see what happens. We'll get the thoughts of our guests in studio on that. We'd love to hear from you on that also, what you make of the findings, because a lot of people were hoping that the NDC will crack the whip. It's time to reset the country, and they were hoping to see if they will reset their party when it comes to vote buying. It did not happen. Then also, fast forward, we got, of course, I think throughout the week, from last week, we were waiting to hear what the presidency would do about it, especially when we heard there was going to be a cabinet meeting on this very matter. I'm talking about issues coming out of Cocoa Board. We know the farmers had been owed for some 4 months now. They've been crying for their arrears, and the minority and some members of the opposition were in cocoa farms, engaging the cocoa farmers. That did not go down well with the government. And finally, the cabinet meeting was held, and the finance minister announced what was described as major reforms to the cocoa sector, among which include the immediate payment of the cocoa farmers and also a change in the financing model of Cocoa Board. We'll get into that briefly, because the Cocoa Board CEO has been all over the place explaining why they had a challenge with paying the cocoa farmers. Some 36 billion Ghana cedis debts they say they inherited. We'll try and ask the MPP why they left them 36 billion Ghana cedis of debts, and why they want him to be sacked after handing such a burden to him. So we'll get into that on the show today. And of course, the big one is Tax-for-Galamsey. Well, we had a big national dialogue on that on Joe News on Thursday. If you followed it, I'm sure you would have gotten a lot to hear about that matter. But we're trying to explore, are the DCs and MCs the weakest link when it comes to the fight against Galamsey? Because it's persistent. Go to many parts of our community, it is persistent. And we're wondering why there's no leadership at the local level. If the DCs and MCs are able to do what is required of them, then we can stop this once and for all. But this expose that Johnny's journalists, multimedia journalists undertook, it appears that some district assemblies are taking a tax for people to engage in Galamsey. Wow, that's very, very interesting. So we'll get the thoughts of our colleagues and our guests on that. In studio, I've got, some very fine gentlemen, regulars on the show. You hear from them also. And as you can see, they've got their books and pens ready to share their thoughts on all of these issues. But let's start with assets of that, investigative piece that we conducted, Tax-for-Galamsey.
Our investigation began as whispers of an organized extortion scheme kept resurfacing, with stories shared quietly among miners who speak only in cautious tones. The fragmented accounts pointed towards a task force allegedly operating under the authority of the District Chief Executive of Amansia Central, Emmanuel Obeng Ajeman. According to the patterns we observed, miners were said to be paying 3,000 Ghana cedis for every Chanfan machine, one leg as it is termed, while others pay 30,000 Ghana cedis and more for every excavator in usage. Our investigation also uncovered receipts and warrant stickers being issued to guarantee uninterrupted illegal operations when payments were made. The whole issue, I no more country and the police for them. Even though so more years more for less than and the one that one music started as 700. So I'm not talking sure but this form of us will. These committee's allegation demanded the deeper inquiry, but our strongest evidence came from a recorded phone call with the district chief executive. In the tape, he confirms that the tax force collects monies and that it operates under his instructions.
Assembly, me as DC, Mama na start when you so on ye. One of your mining desk officer. It is a Aquanian, Sino Sian and Enya, fine, ye can't answer. And I'm going to say, the Benya already complaints is here. Or starting Maui almost 1 month on one leg. Mine is on your encounter. My friend, almost 20. One friend encounter. Obi a wa frame bi anywhere me ma people on their friend malam me ka che ne say ene ne nko kasa na ya ma ne 2 minutes won di ajo ba ko ni e dia ba so fa hallelujah ajo tam fine ba ko tam fine na o ka pa chani one leg no pa chani o dia me ba me bro but the fight guy the fight better na ke pesi ko be pikakra 45 minutes. Wow. Kina ka be kwa ni ntumi nhia o because e be se ke ko kumase
and if the laws of the natural justice are applied in this sense, the mere fact that allegations are levied against you does not mean that we should start through or we should interdict you. Definitely there should be evidence and a case made against you.
You raise a concern also about the interdictions, etc. It is not also an established must that at all costs there should be an interdiction. One would, however, adduce that that could be seen as an appropriate step or the right thing to do, especially if it is suspected that maybe the persons involved may in one way or the other interfere in the process.
But I humbly disagree with my brother, the minister.
I think that the government shall be more decisive and prompt in terms of their action than they taking all this time that they want before they really act.
So if that is what will help the process achieve what we all want, well then let that be.
In my assembly, you didn't have to go with a hidden camera. My MC has receipts that with the inscription, fine for illegal mining. And he justifies it.
We want those who are found, culpable to be arrested, prosecuted, and jailed. So we want that to be done. We also want that every system, every levy, or any informal, tax regime associated with illegal mining, we want it dismantled now. Because if it is not done, we will do our checks, we'll do our investigations, and we shall expose them. So that should be clear in the public domain already.
As a result of that, the PPLC thereby
so you saw assets of that Tax-for-Galamsey documentary. Once again, welcome. It's Prime Insight, live here on Joy Prime. My name is Razak Musbah. Well, you're still with me, we're waiting for some of our guests, and of course, we do have some of them now in studio, and we're going to get into it. Now, we have Mr. Kamaldeen Abdullah is Deputy Director of Communications for the MPP, and also Mr. Solomon Owusu is Director of Communications for United Party. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the show this morning.
Good morning, Ms. Bar, and thanks for having us.
Really good to have you, really good to have you. I just want us to start from that Tax-for-Galamsey issue there. And acknowledge Solomon already. My producer said I should acknowledge you, and I said I've already.
Oh, yes. Good morning to you, to my brother Kama, and to your studio audience, and your very, very wonderful viewers across the world, particularly the United Party supporters. Continue to wave your white handkerchief as the numbers keep pouring.
I thought it's yellow, isn't it?
Yes, the yellow army is a beautiful
Away
party.
from the white.
No, it's also part of it. But
I'm happy you have joined. He himself he's not attached to his party.
I'm attached to which
He's not
party?
even attached to his party.
No, sometimes the way manner you speak is very. Don't even start it. Don't even start it.
To remind you,
no, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
So
the yellow part of Agala, can you imagine?
Can I even attach to your party?
You see, you love the party so much that the mentioning of the UP sends shivers spine down his veins. And I can understand the frustration, but you shouldn't worry. We are going to the promised land. We will get there.
Okay, well, good morning, guys. We've also got our studio audience. Guys, good morning. Hope you're well. It's been a very interesting week, hasn't it? Yeah, so many things to discuss, isn't it? Well, good to have you. Good to have you. And Kamad, I wanted to start from the Tax-for-Galamsey. You saw excerpt of it, and I'm sure you followed it across all our platforms the course of the week. What have you made of it? I mean, at the moment, the minister indicated that a committee has been put together to probe the issue, to speak to the DC who was involved and a few other individuals that were involved in it. Then action will be taken.
Well, thank you so much. Once again, let me say good morning to you again, and good morning to my wonderful guests who are seated here, especially the unemployed former TN executives who are here association. How's your association doing? I think it's doing well, right? And I pray and hope that you get the jobs that you were promised, because some people do not actually live up to their promises, especially those in authority today. Let's just pray you get what you want, okay? Now, you see why I say they do not live up to their promises. The NDC, time without number, before they came to power, said that they had the panacea, they had the mechanism to put in place, okay, that will ensure the stoppage of this illegal mining, which of course has assumed a position that we all can describe, or we describe as a canker in this country. When they were campaigning, they claimed that, look, within some few months, within 1 year, within whatever, they gave time frames. This illegal mining, in other words called Galamsey, would be a thing of the past. They have been exposed big time by this documentary. In fact, authorities appointed by the government are neck deep per what we are seeing. Did you deceive us? Did you deceive the guests here? Did you deceive those watching us? The crusaders, the CSOs who came together, the media organization that came together to fight for this, who had hope in the NDC leadership, okay, have been failed. In fact, every single person who had hope in the John Dramani Mahama is indeed not happy where we are today. It took the Chief Justice to remind them that, look, Galamsey is assuming an alarming proportion and that we need to fight it. The Chief Justice, Justice Backbone. And then my brother Felix Ofosu-Kwakye came out to say that, look, no, he should bring evidence if he thinks it's assuming an alarming position. We are here today. That's the evidence for you, evidence-based. So if Felix Ofosu-Kwakye is watching, he should be reminded that it will not take the Chief Justice to bring what? Evidence. Res ipsa locutu. The thing speaketh for itself. It's on the ground.
Now, what do you think should happen in this case? I mean, there's a DC who was named in the issue. In fact, a petition was presented to the ministry for some action to be taken. At the moment, as far as we've seen, is that a committee has been put together to investigate it. Did you expect maybe the DC involved to be asked to step aside even while the investigation is ongoing?
When I was watching the documentary, I was amazed at the position taken by the Ashanti Regional Minister. Not too long ago, they were chastising the MPP and its members. Baselessly, without any evidence, without any shred of, if you like, proof, they were saying who were, okay, soiled when it comes to Galamsey. Today, he's talking about natural justice. Did you listen to him? Today, he's saying that when you make an allegation against somebody, the rules of natural justice should what? Persist. when we are saying that, look, if you have told the whole world that you have the wherewithal, you have the power, you have what it takes, you have the intuition, you have the knowledge to stop Galamsey, what we expected from you was to tell the DC or whoever is actually involved to step aside immediately. Why? We're not in this country. When Joy reported, then John Mahama won in 2015. You remember the Chia DC? Just going to a function and saying Chia, he was sacked. Chia. Immediately saying Chia. Today, somebody is alleged to have receipts, granting receipts to excavators. And if you listen to one of the commentaries given, the interview they conducted, he said, look, the only hand is over to 70,000, 700 million. And your excavator can go and work, whether it's illegal or legal. That is where we have gotten to. People who came to lie to us that they have even stopped importation of what? Excavators. And that they are making sure the excavators are arrested. They are the same people now granting licenses to people to go into the bush and then cause problems environmentally to us. Cocoa farms are being destroyed. Okay? Our water bodies are being destroyed at the expense of the people of Ghana.
All right, let me get...
And then leaders who are supposed to rise up to the task are telling us that we should resort to natural justice. So when you ask me, my position is that, and our position is that anyone who is involved, if you say yesterday was not good, today equally would not be good. Sack that person immediately and let's see that you are indeed committed to the fight against Galamsey.
Well, Solomon, let me get your take on this.
So, usually there are certain issues you don't want to play politics with it. And one of such issues is the Galamsey menace, because water does not discriminate as to who is MPP, who is United Party, who is the NDC, who is CPP, and so on. Food poisoning does not discriminate as to who belongs to this party and that party. It is a known fact that the last 32 years, our lives have been destroyed. Our environment has been destroyed by the MPP and the NDC. There is no doubt about that. In fact, we have people who are so unpatriotic. Their only edge for political power is to come and destroy, to make money for themselves. Growing up, we had freedom fighters. People were always saying that we are fighting for the cause of Africa, we are fighting for the cause of Ghana. When last, just cast your mind back, when last within these 32 years did we get people who stood up and said, look, we are fighting for the prosperity of this country? We haven't had some. And I thought that my brother would have been guided by that rather than taking a swipe at the NDC when he himself, his party, are so guilty of the very things that he enumerated. He's so guilty, to the extent that there is an existing report conducted by one of their own, a sector minister for that matter, the head of Interministerial Mining Committee, a professor for that matter. The report is there. The report was submitted to the Chief Justice and transmitted to the President of the land. And what was contained in that report? Look, where we are discussing the Amansia Center, that's where I come from. And I know the story too well. And that is why I'm very surprised at what it is. The very thing this MC is continuing was instituted by his government, the collection. Some of us made noise about it. If you go to the Amansia Center, from the Jacobu to the Ampunya to all those, it has been destroyed. Going everywhere, drinking stream water from a lot of the water, the Paparama forest, the Koboro forest, that's why it is. Go and read about it. But because of the love for filthy money, nobody is thinking about the country. Look, as we speak, more than 60,000 hectares of our lands have been destroyed. And for purposes of education, 60,000 hectares equates to about 84,000 football fields. You understand? So why would we continue to, as it were, deceive ourselves as though we are doing anything? Look, when President Mahama took over, he made a statement. I think that if he wants to take the people of this country seriously, he must go by that statement. He said, any district that will see Galamsey fester. The MCE there would be sacked. I thought that was the end of this whole saga. Because you see, you cannot have the head of a DISEC in an area supervise the destruction of an environment, and you will continue to pay that person. So I disagree 1,000% with the regional minister, and he must not go on that tangent to be making that statement that there has to be a case made against the person, natural justice. Who is not talking about natural justice? The natural justice is what is before you. So at best, the man has to be interdicted based on the evidence available on tape, and at the end of the day, if the investigation that you are talking about, if the videos were doctored, interdiction does not mean sack. It means just hold on, there is an issue about you that we need to investigate. Because the man is on tape. He has admitted to certain unknowingly. So what else are you saying that somebody must come and report? That is the reality of the day. Get him interdicted. Now beyond that, we must also get the police commander and all those that are involved in the national security at the district level. All of them must be interdicted. All of them. Look.
Everyone
who is part of the DISEC must be interdicted. Because that means the reason why we appoint DCs, the president is one person. It cannot be throughout the country. He appoints people to represent them. That DC together with his commanders are the ones in charge of the district. So how can you be in charge of a district and this thing is going on and you continue to draw salaries from the state? They must be sacked immediately or interdicted immediately until conclusions are, the investigations are concluded. If they are not culpable, then you reinstate them. But this business of we go there, we know where the Galamsey sites are. We know those that are doing this Galamsey. And mind you, between the Amansi Central and the Obuasi area, they are creating more or less a terrorist zone. That was the zone that they chased the EPA director. Professor, what's the name? Professor Kuche. They didn't even consider her as a woman. At the point she was reporting to your reporters that, look, somebody in Accra was giving her direction that don't use the Obuasi-Kumasi road, use the Dungwa road to escape danger. How did the person get that information? But the local people, the national security men on the ground could not help her. So we are the people that are supposed to supervise and make sure that we deal decisively with this canker. They themselves are culpable. They are involved in this business.
Interesting. Let me just bring in Hamza now. He's joined us. Hamza Suhini is a member of the NDC National Communication Team. Hamza, good to have you. And you just joined us. We're talking about the Tax-for-Galamsey documentary. I'm sure you've come across it on all our platforms. And, of course, it involves the Amansia districts, and the bigger conversation here is whether our DCs and MCs need to do more to try and deal with this menace, because it does appear that the consensus is that they are the weakest link in this fight against Galamsey.
Good morning to you, Ms. Bow, and good morning to my colleagues in the studio, as well as comrades who are joining us from the audience today.
There are patriots as well, not just comrades.
Yeah, whether patriots or they are all friends. Comrades simply means
so
friends and
colleagues.
You know, comrades are patriots as well.
Who are the comrades? Who are the patriots?
Exactly.
Okay,
so comrades.
I'll give you the definition after the program.
So, Ms. Bow, I don't think that your premise is supported by the facts, especially when you say that the MMDCs are becoming the problem itself, especially when it comes to the issue of Galamsey. And before I even go on to the subject of Galamsey, permit me to make references to what my brother said, especially when he was introducing the audience, where he said that some of them are unemployed. I think one of the reasons why the NDPP got defeated by huge margins, unprecedented in the last election, was simply because of its own inability to create jobs for his own people. If you remember, in that election, a dozen former Tax-con executives came against the government because of the deceit that you guys championed for 8 good years, and all what you were known for had to do with your ability to fill your own pockets. Today, even your finance minister, who was supposed to be instrumental in that job creation process, is out of the country and is unwilling to subject himself to the lawful authorities of this country, considering the havoc he did to people like them, the youth of this country. Responsibility would have given many of them job opportunities. So let us not forget about that important part of our history. But you see, Musbao, look, for this government, any allegation of corruption, what's the name, Galamsey, is a matter we don't take lightly. And on another platform, I think your sister station, I made the point that there's a need for us to commend Joy for championing this fight, even at a time that many media houses appear to have been given up as far as that fight is concerned. But you are still dedicated, you are still committed, and it's commendable, because that is the only way you can be an effective partner to this government in our commitment to the good people of this country, to the Galamsey fight. It can be discomforting. It can be unnerving, especially for those who feel that government does no wrong. But even those of us who are members or spokespersons for this government, we admit that this is not a perfect government. This is a government that undoubtedly some of our colleagues or senior government officials would engage in acts that we would consider untoward, especially when it comes to the national interest. And so we expect the media to continue its role and bring out many of these things and leave that onto us as a responsible government to act. So unlike what we were promised in the past, this is not a government rooted in perfection, but this is a government that will do everything within its power to ensure that if for nothing at all, we pass the 70% pass mark when it comes to our interventions through policy in all aspects of our Ghanaian economy. But you see, in the case of the Amansi Central, am I getting it right? Amansi Central. I think that the practice has been ongoing for decades now. And following it, it appears that it is part of the institutional setup of even the district assembly. And for me, that was my concern. Because the taxes that the DC is collecting is not going into his personal pocket. Clearly, it is going into the assembly's coffers. So the NDC appointed DC can be forgiven to continue that tradition of taxing many of these vehicles to go on to do Galamsey. And that was the aspect I wanted the Joy FM investigations to recover, whether indeed the monies were actually going onto the district assembly's fund or being used privately by the MCE and staff of that particular assembly. It is important for us to know. But I know as a matter of fact that based on the little checks that I have done, it goes into their internally generated funds for onward disbursement to do programs within the district assembly. And it didn't start under this government. Yeah, but the difficulty, but the difficulty is that I think that the DCE or MCE ought to have known better as far as the position of this government is concerned. And even if he had discovered something to that effect, that was more or less being given official backing, the responsible thing he ought to have done in line with government's agenda against illegal mining was to bring that to the attention of either his regional dean, because I understand the MMDCs have regional deans, or his regional minister, or even the local government ministry, to ascertain whether or not this is a practice that they will be allowed to do. And so for me, to the extent that he failed to do so, ignorance is no excuse under the law. And like the government has indicated when you presented your petition, that it will investigate. If they investigate and they realize that his only crime was ignorance, I don't think that he needs to be excused still. Because myself and you, if we are caught on the wrong side of the law, our excuse cannot be that we didn't know. And so he ought to have known better, especially as an appointee.
Because if you are taking tax from somebody who is not licensed to do the thing, you cannot give the excuse that there is a history of taking taxes from these people. You are taking tax from illegal individuals.
No, Musba, you are still not getting the angle I'm coming from. I think on another platform, there are documentary evidence of same taxes being given by the former DC in 2024.
It didn't start.
It didn't start today.
Yeah, so that's why I've told you. So that's the point I'm making.
That's the point. That's why I've told you that your point is not necessary at this stage, because I proceeded to tell you that possibly he's continuing that tradition.
Yeah.
And I made the point that the fact that he fails to appreciate
And even report.
Yeah,
you made that statement.
Is enough grounds for him to be sanctioned.
Yeah. Because my wonder is why, in the first place, the assembly, because I'm sure the individuals he's working with, some of them, I'm not sure if they've done a complete reshuffle of the assembly staff.
No, it is
exactly
the DC.
Exactly.
The DC.
So what that means is that you have
the system is still in place.
Taking tax from people who are engaged in illegality.
That is where the problem is.
So even if you take the DC away from it, there's a system at the assembly which appears to be
references to the tradition. It appears to be the tradition of that particular district assembly. And I'm saying that if I'm appointed as MMDC, as a district chief executive or municipal chief executive or metropolitan chief executive, and I go to continue such a culture under a government that promised to deal with Galamsey decisively, I think that I ought to be dealt with. My excuse cannot be that this was a tradition that was in place and I came to meet. I was not taken there to continue the tradition. I was taken there to implement the objectives of the government that appointed me there and to ensure that I reset that sector. And so if your number one priority as an appointee of this government, if you are taken to any institution, if your number one priority is not a reset, then there's a problem. Because if you do your own internal checks and audits, look at your handing over notes, you ought to know where needed to be reset. So if you failed to appreciate that as a government appointee, it is a source of concern. What about I can assure you that this government will not take that lightly.
Let me just get your reaction to this. What about the concern that he should be made to step aside while the investigation, or interdicted while the investigation gets underway?
I don't disagree with those calls, you see, and that is the beauty of the National Democratic Congress, in all honesty. It is only in the NDC that you see spokespersons of the party or government in power associating with such calls, that if a government appointee is caught on the wrong side of the law, and Ghanaians feel that it is important for him to step aside in the time being for investigations to be carried on, why not? After all, the power belongs to the Ghanaian people. It doesn't belong to the National Democratic Congress. It doesn't belong to the United Party. It doesn't belong to the New Patriotic Party. It is not our power. It is a responsibility loaned onto us. And so if the Ghanaian people feel so strongly that one way to deal with this matter is to get the DCE to step aside for investigations to continue, I will back that forcefully. And I'm pretty much convinced that there are so many people in this government who would back it. But you see, Ms. Bao, you see in my presentation today, I resisted the temptation to do the politics my brother did. Because I think that the issue of Galamsey, we have flogged the political aspect of it for some time now. Now our responsibility as a government that won an overwhelming mandate is to fix the crisis. I can be forgiven to sit around this table and make references to mayors in Ashanti region who were engaged in illegal mining. In the eastern region, MMDCs who were engaged even to the level of the presidency, the chief of staff's office, known party functionaries in the past who were neck deep in the issue of illegal mining. This NDC government, like I indicated, is not perfect, but the story of what we witnessed under the MPP in the 8 years that they were given cannot in any way be compared to this issue of the Amansie Central DC.
All right, great.
Especially when it is a continuation. So I acknowledge I acknowledge that this is a canker we need to deal with decisively. And I am pretty much convinced. I have absolute confidence in my president, your president, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. What is his interest in mining? What is President Mahama's interest in mining?
Now, will you call on the president to, if you had your way, would you advise the president to interdict him while the investigation is ongoing?
Absolutely not, maybe, because absolutely not. No, I said that we respect the views of the Ghanaian people. Yeah. I won't do that because I'm a lawyer, for goodness sake. I know how the law works, and I know how the power of interdiction is used in this country, and under circumstances in which it is exercised. But the president has the political authority to go and implement the directives of the Ghanaian people, but I will not oppose a call for the man to be interdicted.
Okay, let me just get some brief thoughts so that we can.
In as much as we all on this table seek to speak against this menace or this illegal event, which seeks to destroy our environment, in as much as we all agree that we speak against it. And we all also think that there should be political decisions taken to that effect. Well, I've always maintained that leadership is everything. Why? Didn't the MPP promise to fight Galamsey? They did. Didn't the NDC, prior to coming to power, promise to fight Galamsey when they are given power? They did. That's the political angle of it. That tells you that decisively, we all must ensure that politically fight this. Aside that, the problems that we are confronted with, by this, is also on the table. That is where all of us will now agree that, look, Ghana first. Whatever the situation, whoever is involved, let that person be fought. Conveniently. Or whatever, for whatever reason, my brother says that, look, there were some DCs who were neck deep. There were some staff of the Jubilee House who were neck deep. There were some, allegedly, all these things. Same way, will I say that even their own people cited some of their national executives, like one of their vice chairmen, is it Abanga or who? Like their national organizer, Joseph Yami, and others, and some DCs, the same way. So all these things happen. And I'm saying that, look, it is not about equalizing some of these comments. It is about ensuring that if the mandate is in your hand to ensure that there's stoppage to whatever that we all find inimical to the growth of this country, then use it.
Okay, so let me just...
And John Dramani Mahama must be called upon as the president who is sitting now to ensure that Galamsey is fought. And again, let me add this. This idea of it didn't start today. It didn't start today. Even Galamsey did not start today. When Inusa, our brother, Lawyer Inusa, was Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, he had quest to fight against Galamsey. By then, the MPP were not in power. So it tells you there's a history. But this talk of this started yesterday or started today is neither here nor there. If you have mentioned, and Hamza rightly put it, if you have agreed to the people or promised the people that we are coming to reset, we are coming to change things, then make sure that whatever model that is there is changed. If you haven't done that, there is a failure on your part.
So you just have the last take on this, then because we'll link it to Coco because
that wouldn't
at the moment
there's your second bite, and that was my only bite.
So okay, you have your bites.
Yeah,
then let me allow Hamza also have a final bite.
My brother finally came home. I thought he would start from that angle. I mean, Kamaldeen tried to play safe there. Look, this is a nationalistic problem. It's a national problem that we have.
I've always maintained this.
But you started straight away accusing people now.
But that's what this is.
No, I'm coming. What is wrong? You feel you any time you are speaking. Take it easy, because we will get there.
I don't feel just to say that.
You are, honestly.
I never.
Because you just spoke, I was listening.
You was quiet.
I've never been.
You just made your point.
Just make the point.
My friend, you are
yeah, make the point.
The point really is that your own documentary says this thing started yesterday. I mean, it was there before this administration. What it means is that there has to be a comprehensive investigation You understand? To also ascertain the use of even the taxes that they have collected from both the past DC and this one. You understand? We cannot.
So the investigation should even look into that.
It has to go there, and whether or not every decision to collect taxes at the assembly level is passed by the assembly members. Whether or not indeed that thing went through the normal assembly process for them to agree, then we go also after them. Why they will be taking money from an illegality?
And even extend it to other assemblies and see.
Because now we understand. I heard my brother Kwesiakwa, MP for that, say that down to a similar thing is happening. I keep saying that Galamsey cannot be done or conducted by ordinary people. It's the big men in society, the people that you respect. They are the ones behind it. Because you see, it's not a secret enterprise. And by the way, NIMOS, from where I sit, is doing a great job. That if they were going to have that political backing, because you see what they are doing, they are also preventing people within this administration from making their money. So they are also making enemies within the same government. And if you are not careful, and if you don't have a level-headed president, they will badmouth you and get the right people off the radar. That is the only reason why we are not able to fight Galamsey. That it should be the easiest. I keep hearing people say that, it's a difficult. Why is it a difficult thing?
Leadership.
Leadership. And the people, you must crack it. You must stand on your grounds and say, look, this is not permissible.
Once and for all, and it's gone.
And nobody is saying, by the way, that mining is not a good thing, but responsible mining. Now, if you look at gold production, Ghana is about 8. You understand? You are talking about China, you are talking about Russia, you are talking about Canada, Australia, USA, Mexico, all leading. Is it the way they do their mining? How come they are getting it right and we are getting it wrong? If there is the need for more training, we have proposed that we have to bring all these miners together, go and train them somewhere in the UMAT. After that, form them into give them corporate structures to be operating within. The state gives them concession and also aid them in getting the right equipment. So once they are structured, you can even take your taxes from them. Just like the Anglo Goals and that does also not mean that the big mining companies are also not doing illegal mining. Sometimes we leave them and bash. Once we are dealing with our own, we must also begin to go after the so-called big ones. They are also doing illegal mining in this country. I'm telling you, let your cameras begin to go there. And you see that they are even worse off. But because our people, they are so close to us and they do things anyhow, these people, they will commit the offense, the big ones, and then back it with some law. But our people, they commit offense without any backing. So let's look at it that way.
All right, let me bring Hamza in. Hamza, I mean...
yes, I understand.
Okay, just before we come to Hamza, let me just get to the audience briefly. Let's get about 2 thoughts on this one, then I'm going to have the final take on this. Okay, one start with you. Yeah.
A very good morning to our viewers at home. With this issue of Galamsey, it didn't start today. I'm from a mining area, and I know what has been happening.
Which area is that?
I'm from Upper Dintra.
Okay.
And I know what has been happening over there under the previous government. So I will suggest that next time your cameras goes into the mining area, you should target the police officers and the NADMO officers, the immigration, because they sometimes move into the mining areas to also go and take money. When you visit the mining areas, there's something called operation fee, whereby at the end of the week, the miners come together to contribute money, send it to the various police stations. And I believe those monies are not given to the assembly. They go into the pocket of the...
But how do you know this?
I'm in the mining area, so I'm telling you, if you doubt me, take your cameras into the mining areas and conduct this. And
I believe we cannot verify this, but
yes, you have the camera. The same thing you did with the issue of the DC, you can do same. And the issue of the MC, I think the laws must be allowed to take it full course. But I am not of the view that the MC should be interdicted. But there should be a swift investigation whereby if he is acquitted, he should be allowed to continue with his job. But if he's guilty, he should be taken off and a new person.
All right, let's have someone else. You've got a microphone?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's hear from you.
Okay. Good morning to you all. I might say today all our panelists, they did justice to the topic. They talked from a point that was very far from party politics. They were very honest with the fact that the issue.
Maybe.
They were very honest with the fact that the issue we have at hand is not for just a political party to solve, but it's a national issue. Okay, but we have to know that this issue is a systemic issue. The people that are doing the Galamsey, some of them are graduates. They don't have any work doing. Some of them are doing it and using it as a source of means to do their education. So what I'm trying to say is we shouldn't just look at just stopping Galamsey, but let's look at the issues that generate or leads to these Galamseys becoming more and more. When we are able to solve this issue, then we're going to solve Galamsey become a less issue for us. Because when you're able to solve the systemic problems that will lead to the Galamsey becoming a canker in the country, it becomes less a fight for us to go ahead with.
Okay, great. Let's have that.
Yeah, Ms. Brown, thank you. I think the NDC won power through Galamsey. In fact, the demonstrations and everything that happened in this country, also the demonstrations, several demonstrations on the street against Galamsey, it helped the NDC to win power. And for now, I don't believe in it happening during the previous government, so it's happening now, the equality. No, the president came out with a reset agenda. And if you're an MCE and you do not believe in his agenda, that means the reset agenda, I think you have to be sanctioned because you're not part of his plans or you're not part of his agenda. You have to be sanctioned. There's nothing about taxing illegality is wrong. And he has to be sanctioned. If the president is going by the code of ethics given to appointees, then I think the MC has to be sanctioned. It's very simple.
Well, Hamza, you have the final take on this.
I think that Kamaldeen and his friend, the former Tescon executive, have all said, ended up saying what I invited them to say. That's why I said that. Establishing the fact that what was happening in Amansie Central is a tradition. I made the point that establishing that it is a tradition does not mean that this current DC should be pardoned. And that's why I proceeded to say that the DC ought to have known the reset agenda he was taking there to do. And that the fact that it was happening under the NPP, the money is going on to the IGF of the district assemblies, shouldn't be entertained by an NDC appointee sent there to pursue the president's agenda of reset. And that is one unique thing about the National Democratic Congress. We don't protect our own when they are found guilty. We don't clear them like we used to witness by heart, especially when it comes to the Galamsey fight. And that's why I can confidently sit around this table and say that that particular DC ought to be dealt with in accordance with our law and the government's promise to reset the Galamsey sector, to reset the country and ensure that we nip Galamsey in the bud. We knew from the word go, even when we were campaigning, that some of our appointees would be that reckless to want to abuse this power by engaging in the very acts we criticize the NPP administration for engaging in. We knew. And that's why President Mahama said that any such appointee or an associate of this government found in that light would be dealt with. And I'm glad my brother made references to even national executives who are not holding any government position, who themselves have become subjects of investigations at the back of a simple newspaper publication that we suspect that A and B have something to do with the Galamsey task force.
How far was that investigation? It's been a while.
So that is what you guys have to follow up, because even at the party level, we have made serious calls on government and the Attorney General in particular to make known the outcome of the investigations. I know as a matter of fact that one of those who are at the center of the investigations is Yamin. Yamin himself has been calling for the outcome of the investigations to be made public. Abanga has also called because they themselves are interested, because they are clear in their minds that they are not involved.
You must also forget that that investigation was also linked to the Professor Frimpong.
The two have to go together. So possibly, so possibly that is what is prolonging it, because Professor indicated, he mentioned in the past when even the de facto, what do they call him? Prime Minister of this country.
You know Gabi?
Gabi.
Yes.
Was being cited as being part of Galamsey. No investigations were carried out. And it was not by a mere person. It was the sitting Minister of Environment and Science and Technology at the time who made the accusations. No investigations were carried on. So to the extent that today, even we have this kind of momentum, there's something for you to track. You see, you just asked the question, what has happened to the outcome of the investigation? There's a trail for you to track. In the past, you didn't have that. So if after some time, you seem not to be getting the outcome of the investigation, you know that the government is engaged in something untoward, and you can measure that government by that standard. And so that is the beauty of the National Democratic Congress. And when I have the opportunity of speaking to the youth, I always tell them that what makes us different is our ability to speak the truth, even if it bites on our asses. That is how we're trained. That is the fundamental ideals of the party. Positive defiance. And so be rest assured that we may not be able to solve all the problems in this country as a political party, and especially under the leadership of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. But we would be sincere with the Ghanaian people, we would be honest, and we would make ourselves available for accountability when the need arises for them to base on that and take a decision. And my only invitation is to the NPP to take a cue from the governance style of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the availability, the humility that he is exhibiting, the utmost respect for the Ghanaian people that he's so far showing is a mark of governance we cannot take for granted. We all saw the power Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo wielded and showed the good people of this country. We don't want that kind of leadership style again. And thankfully, we have the NDC and John Dramani Mahama.
Well, thank you very much. You have some limited time to go. So let's So we are moving on to the next subject. Yeah, we want to get if he comes in, I'll get the opportunity. Yes, we want to get. So of course, earlier this week, there was an emergency cabinet meeting to, prefer solutions to the Cocoa Board issues. The finance minister, of course, engaged Ghanaians on that very matter. Let's just bring a recap of what the finance minister shared with the Ghanaian people on what to do with Cocoa Board. After that, we'll also hear from the minority because quickly they reacted to the finance minister's, solutions.
As a result of that, the PPLC thereby announces that effective today, Thursday, 12 February 2026, the new producer price for the remainder of the 2025-2026 crop season will now be 41,392 Ghana cedis per ton and 2,587 Ghana cedis per bag. This measure has become necessary to reflect the reality of the world market price of cocoa, ensure the injection of immediate liquidity for expedited payment of farmers, and guarantee the sustainability of our cocoa sector. As you recall, that I made an announcement in the 2026 budget that government of Ghana has secured a $500 million World Bank facility to construct agricultural roads, including cocoa roads. This particular intervention will take over the construction of cocoa roads going forward. To ensure accountability and transparency in the management of Cocoa Board and the cocoa sector as a whole, Cabinet also directed the Attorney General to commission concurrent forensic audit and criminal investigation into the activities of Cocoa Board over the last 8 years. And I repeat, Cabinet also directed the Office of the Attorney General to commission concurrent forensic audit and criminal investigation into the activities of Cocoa Board over the last 8 years. Cabinet has directed the Ministry of Finance to initiate also immediate reforms at Cocoa Board to streamline their operations and cut costs. Wasteful and uncontrolled expenditure practices are to be curtailed immediately.
If the cocoa farmers' farm gate price is going to be reduced by almost 30%, then everybody's pay in this country should also be slashed by that margin.
is the chief executive officer of Cocoa Board. His allowance and salary, is it going to be slashed by the same margin? I am sad. Today is a sad country for everybody. And I think the president should come again. Cocoa farmers deserve better.
All of this has come about because of the reset that Cocoa Board did. And that is why, respectfully, we ask the president to relieve the Cocoa Board CEO of his responsibilities at this point in time. Number two, we are asking the government that in previous times when cocoa prices fell and the government absorbed the shock and protected the cocoa farmer, the NDC government should absorb the cost of what they have done and protect the cocoa farmer and restore at least the 3,625 that they promised. This 2,800 or so that they are promising is totally unacceptable. Already we are receiving messages from cocoa farmers who say that if this is what is going to happen, they are going to demonstrate in a number of these. And if they do, we in this caucus, we will join them on the streets to do this demonstration.
As a result of that.
So that's the minority, and of course, lastly, heard from Kojo Ponkroma speaking there. It's been a very thorny issue in the last few days, this very matter. I'm going to start with Kamaldeen. He has, in fact, hinted that he needs to leave early, so we'll get his thoughts on it, then we can excuse him. Kamal, all over the media airwaves, your party functionaries have been very hard on government. In fact, the big one is the fact that they're calling for the head of the Cocoa Board CEO, citing that he, in quotes, has been mismanaging the sector, and that has resulted in the issues that we are facing now. But he has also been explaining. One of the key things that we saw from that is that you left him with a debt of in excess of 34 billion Ghana cedis, and that's a huge one that has, crippled the industry and many other issues, and why they have had to come up with some of these reforms to deal with the sector.
As well, we are in the second year of this government. I'm trying to remind Ghanaians. And of course, I remember also on the 13th of December, 2015, thereabout, at the inauguration of Assemblies of God's Revival Center, now the President of the Republic of Ghana, then the President too as well, said Ghanaians have short memory. That's how he described Ghanaians that time. No wonder this is happening today. Prior to 2008 election, where is the venerable Atua Hoy? Wherever he is this morning, I want to say good morning to him. Prior to 2008 election, I'm telling you the stock and trade of NDC, who they are, how deceitful they appear. He was on a board calculating how much fuel will be sold when they are elected. When they got elected, the story was different. Again, fast forward to where we are today. The minister who just spoke, the finance minister, called NPP wicked people and said we're insensitive to the plight of the common farmer. This minister. Now today, the same minister is at the helm of affairs. La Côte d'Ivoire, who have had meetings with us as also cocoa producers, who we are also ensuring that our farmers would not smuggle our cocoa beans to Côte d'Ivoire, have maintained their producer price at 3,690 Ghana cedis. Check. Ghana is telling us that our cocoa farmer is useless. Our cocoa farmer needs nothing. Our cocoa farmers' children don't need better issue. So therefore, 1,000 Ghana cedis is taken from their what they're supposed to earn. That's how wicked this government is. That's how callous they are. That's how insensitive Atu Forson and his team are to the common cocoa farmer. And when we talk, as usual, because they think we have short memories, they will come and tell you that we have told AG to go and institute investigation. Rhetorics. You have been here for 1 year going to 2 years. You have not done investigations. You haven't looked at anything. The next moment, the model we came to meet is what we have used. That is why we have not changed the model. My brother sat here and said that their agenda was to reset. Therefore, you have no excuse to come and then use any model that will bring problems. My brother sat here and said that. Reference
to the cocoa sector too as well. If the CEO comes to tell you the model was used by MPP and that's what we have used and that's where there's a problem, we have been left. Look, you told us that you can fix it. You deceived Ghanaians. You lied your way to power. Told Ghanaians that you are coming to fix it. Fix it. What you can do today, when the MP spoke, that if you are reducing the cocoa farmers' earnings, equally reduce your salaries. Equally reduce your allowances. Equally reduce what you are getting. You are not even a farmer. They toil, they suffer, they go to the bush. Sometimes serpents even attack them. Only for them to suffer for nothing they have done.
I mean, but fundamentally, just to do a little follow-up, fundamentally, on the pricing issue that you made reference to.
Yes.
I mean, you do understand where government finds itself at the moment. Mm-hmm. You're talking about cocoa prices, which had risen to, of course, we saw the cocoa price rise even at a point a high of 13,000, came to 10,000. Now it's as low.
Yeah, at 4,000 something.
Yes, very low.
Yes.
And if government continues with the 3,600, clearly there's a huge loss.
In 2017, when they reduced, the world price came down from $3,000 to somewhere $2,000. What did the government do in 2017 when we came in power?
We maintained it. Check. That's what we did. That's what a responsible government would do. I just told you that La Côte d'Ivoire has maintained their producer price. La Côte d'Ivoire, our neighbors. Check.
Isn't that part of the problem?
I have just told you that La Côte d'Ivoire are not insensitive to the plight of their farmers. They have not reduced it. They have maintained at 3,690. We were even doing 6,625. You have reduced it by 1,000 to let the farmers suffer. La Côte d'Ivoire here, where you have joint meetings with them, have maintained it. Why can't you do same?
But isn't that the problem? Isn't that the problem?
What's the problem?
You came in 2017 and decided to maintain the price.
When you are led by deceitful people who deceive you, that's what happens.
And decided to maintain the price.
Why are you fighting on this? No, I'm just told to just keep quiet and listen. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying that isn't that the problem? For instance, in 2017, when the world price had come down, and ordinarily you should have taken a more pragmatic, a more bold decision to peg the price just like what the bill is coming to do now, to make sure that the pricing of the cocoa is swaying to reflect the world market price. You decided to keep it at 475.
Thank you so much.
And maybe that accounted for some of the debt.
Let me let you understand something. How it works is that projections come to play here. And everyone, a responsible person who knows that the cocoa sector is controlled by what happens or occurrences in the world market, would not recklessly come and tell you that I'll give you 6,000 cedis. What projections did you make? Will not recklessly come and tell you that at the end I'll give you 7,000 cedis. Please. I will not do that. That is what they did to get power. They lie to people that when they come to power, they can increase what they were taking, which was by then around $7,000 thereabout. The farmer could have been given close to 6,000. When they came to power, we waited and waited for the first announcement to do. All they could do was to add a meager some 200 cedi or how much to what was existing. The next one, when we made noise about it, they came and increased to 6,600. That is NDC for you. And I'm telling you that the common farmer, you can say whatever you want to say. Use all the value semantics. But the farmer knows that 1,000 Ghana cedis, keeping one, is taken away from his earnings. And I'm saying that these people, that is their stock in trade. They lie their way to power, they deceive people, they come and then when reality is faced them, they now resort to rhetorics. Since when have you been told that loans of $500 million have taken now, and out of the $500 million, Cocoa Rules is going to be done? You told us, the CEO told us that there's no way he would sign Cocoa Rules contracts, and that he had existing contracts. Now the finance minister is telling us that some $500 million has been secured somewhere, and out of that, some cocoa rules will be done. I am telling you how
that's a $500 million. That's a $500 million the roads ministry has secured.
Yes,
and they are going to do agriculture.
And he says as part of it,
the World Bank facility, and they are going to do agriculture roads.
I'm telling you how cunning they are. People are complaining in the cocoa sectors that their rules are bad.
The CEO tells them that I have no money to do cocoa roads. Now the finance minister is telling us that some money is secured for agric roads. As a result, cocoa roads will be part of it again. That's how cunning they are. That is politics. I am telling you how the NDC is. You see, if you understand and follow it, you will get to understand that these people are wrong people in power. And these people being wrong in power cannot continue to do this to Ghana and do this to the common farmer who is struggling.
All right,
that's
great.
what it says.
These
people,
you see,
NDC,
get him some chill.
He will get me nothing. He will get me nothing.
First of all,
nothing to say.
Musbah, you see, clearly, I think that my brother has a difficulty appreciating how the cocoa sector works. And I can understand the frustration.
How it works. Please make your submission and stop telling me that you are telling me how it works.
I think you have
the farmer wants his money.
When you were speaking,
that's what you have to do. I am telling you what the farmer needs to do. Stop this.
Let him make his point.
That's
I don't think you believe in very soon. So stay with us.
I'm going to start.
My time is
I'm going to start by exposing the misconceptions that he has churned out. First of all, he asked an interesting question. That in 2017, when the world prices came down, they did not reduce prices of cocoa. And so why are we reducing? My simple answer to him is that in 2017, syndicated loan was still active and present. And the meaning of the syndication meant that you were hedging the sales of your cocoa. So you forward sales. So even if prices come down, the cocoa season, when you announce the prices, because of the syndication, you are already taking the money from the buyers. So as a result of the syndication, no, he needs to sit down and listen to this. So, and we need to expose him.
He doesn't have any program anyway. He's
running away.
He said he's been invited on Metro TV.
So, but let me make this point. So if he had an understanding of the process, he would have come to appreciate that syndication was active in 2017. And so you needed not to reduce prices even if international prices were coming down because you were hedging. And hedging simply means that whether international prices are going up or down, you maintain at the same price you sold your cocoa the previous year.
Yeah.
And so if he had a better understanding of the cocoa sector, he wouldn't have been asking the same question. When they took away syndication in 2024, you were in this country when they sent out their RFPs, requests for proposals from the commercial banks. And because Cocoa Board had become comatose, they had run it down. Remember, in 2016, when His Excellency President Mahama was handing over power to them, Cocoa Board had a positive equity of 1.8 billion Ghana cedis, meaning that in paying all its liabilities, Cocoa Board still had in excess of about 1.8 billion capital or money that was available to it. But by 2024, when they left office, Cocoa Board had a negative equity of about 3.4 billion. That is the difference here. And remember that it was the same year, between 2024, that Cocoa Board had to rely on Ministry of Finance to borrow $70 million US. And in the midst of that, through the domestic debt exchange program, Cocoa Board also then told the Ministry of Finance that they were unable to pay the cocoa bonds that Ghanaians had subscribed to. By these actions, Cocoa Board was invariably telling the international partners that the organization had become comatose and not financially viable. And that's why when they attempted to do the syndication in 2024, they could not get the banks to express interest, and they made a U-turn and said that this year they have decided as a matter of policy not to do syndication. They were forced to abandon syndication and adopted a process where they were simply paying spot prices for the cocoa. So the buyers will pre-finance, send the money down, Cocoa Board will buy and send to them at the prevailing prices.
Yeah.
And mind you, there was also another important factor, and that had to do with the road over contracts. That at the time was going for $2,600 per ton. But because of Cocoa Board's inability to supply in that season,
of the supply all the 333,000 or so metric tons of cocoa, we had to roll it over onto the 2023-2024 cocoa season. What that meant was that, and at that time it was 2,600 per ton. So what that meant was that Cocoa Board had to, in the next cocoa season, had to take more than half of our cocoa produced to sell it at a price of $2,600 to pay the liabilities of the previous year, when the international market prices was in the region of about $13,000 per ton. So Ghana was losing in excess of about $10,000 because of the recklessness of his own party and government. Again, under them, road contracts that were signed under the cocoa routes amounted to about 25 billion. A liability that this government inherited. So they had run Cocoa Board down. And people are forgetting. Between 2023 to 2024, your sister station, hosted the president of the Licensed Buyers Association, one Kwesi Adimado, if I got the name right. He indicated to you that for 9 months in 2023, cocoa farmers were not paid. Under Nanado Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Is this the case under this government? It's only been 3 months. It's only been 3 months. And yet, government respects the sector to the extent that it had to move in to hold an emergency cabinet session in an attempt to deal with the crisis of the sector. Because we understand the implications of the cocoa industry to the economy of this country. And we have proceeded to issue out directives, which includes, amongst others, that cocoa farmers need to be paid immediately. And because the current system is not working, another directive has been given for the implementation of the new cocoa bill, presentation of the new cocoa bill to Parliament for onward passage after deliberations, so that at least we can have in place an automatic adjustment formula. Since we are no longer doing syndication, when you go to the international market and the prices increase, Ghana has the opportunity to also increase its prices. If it drops, Ghana will also drop to reflect the drop. That is what we call the automatic adjustment.
It's just like what happens to the fuel prices.
Absolutely. So we have such a system. The farmers will be protected. And I listened to them in their press conference. And you see, as for the MPP, it's their stock in trade. I heard my brother say that they are Venerable Atuahoy indicated that when we're in opposition, that fuel prices will come down, blah, blah. Fuel prices are coming down. Indeed, it came down under President Mills, even when we won. It has come down under President John Dramani Mahama. But those of, maybe some of you were younger, especially from our audience, those of you who monitored the 2000 general elections, we still remember in this country what the MPP did, championed by His Excellency President Kufuor. When he lifted a gallon of petrol, you remember, Solo?
Yeah, I do.
And said that how much is this gallon of petrol that it sells for this much? Who's wow? President Kufuor, their 2000 election campaign hinged on petroleum prices and the fact that the NDC through Rawlings had been in power for too long. They started the fuel politics campaign in this country. And that's why I wanted my brother to be there, and I'll remind him. They started it. But when he came, what didn't we witness under them? Skyrocketing fuel prices. And that was the time President Kufuor then mounted the podium to tell Ghanaians that the time had come for us to move away from the fuel politics. If you remember. That double standards. So the NDC is not like that. We promised reduced fuel prices. Ghanaians are experiencing it. They are living it. Many of the reforms in the petroleum sector, we occasioned it. Many of the reforms, we occasioned it. The deregulation they are talking about, it was initiated by His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama in 2015. Today, that is what is helping save the energy sector of this country. And that is why we have said that these reforms that have been announced will begin to reposition the cocoa industry again. Because remember that as a result of this policy, Ghana would now have the opportunity to retain about 50% of cocoa beans for local processing, in line with the NDC's government's promise to establish local industries. I think about 3 or 4 agro-processing industries this year alone. And the producers have indicated their capacity to actually process 50% of our local beans. What it simply means is that more employment opportunities will come on board for those who are seated here and unemployed.
Let me just get Solomon's take, and then I'll come to you on one issue that the minority have also raised, that as of sometime last year.
No, but Musba, I know Solo would indulge me. On the issue of the prices, I beg you, under 4 minutes. Let us make an important point, that at the time the Honorable Atuforsen said that cocoa prices had to favor the farmer and that they needed to be paid 6,400 or so. He made those statements in relation to the world market prices of cocoa at the time and said that Ghana needed to pay the cocoa farmers 70% of at least the FOB price. At the time, they were paying them about 63.9% of the FOB price, and we thought that it was unacceptable. Today, even prior to this crisis, His Excellency President Mahama, through the minister responsible for finance, remember at the beginning of last year, or somewhere August last year, announced an FOB price for the cocoa farmer at the rate of 70%. The 70% we promised in opposition was implemented. And that's how come the farmers were now getting 58,000 Ghana cedis per ton. And even at the time we announced the 70%, they were getting 51,000 Ghana cedis per ton. Until Cote d'Ivoire announced their cocoa prices for the season. And it was up against the Ghana one by 20%. So the government proceeded to adjust from the 51,000 to reflect the Cote d'Ivoire prices, Ivorian prices of what? 20% increment. From the 51,000 to 58,000 Ghana cedis.
Fundamentally to prevent smuggling.
To prevent smuggling. So the cocoa farmers even had access to more than the 70% that we promised. And in these new reforms, so that tells you, and this is done at a time that our city has gained some measurable strength. So even at the time they were paying them the 63.9%, that was the time we were locked up of the capital markets. The city was on free fall. So the amounts they were receiving couldn't even pay for their basic survival needs. Today, the amounts they are receiving today, our city is strong. It can pay for many of the things they couldn't pay for even under the MPP. So the cocoa farmer today, even in the midst of these challenges, is far better than he was under the MPP in a debilitating economy. And Musbao, another important fact, even in these so-called reforms of reduction, government has moved the 70% FOB price to 90% of FOB. What that means is that only 10% is going to cocoa board for its operations. The rest of the 90% goes to the farmer. So government has increased it, the 70% by an additional 20% to appreciate the challenges the Ghanaian farmer finds itself. That is not the case in Cote d'Ivoire today.
Except in reality, although there is an increase, in reality, in terms of the cash that people are receiving and the numbers they are looking at, they see a reduction.
No, but that's the point I'm making, that the reduction would have been, if we were to reflect the world market prices, the farmers would have gotten less than they are going to get now, even in the midst of the challenges. Because it has moved from 70% that they would have been earning from the FOB to 90%.
Yeah, and you understand, what do you call it, the concern there, that they moved it to 90% to try and accommodate the farmers. But in terms of real cash value, the farmers have seen 1,600 reduction in their money. But I mean, the bigger conversation here is, over the years, there's always been the politics of cocoa board. You know, the politics of cocoa every now and then, all right? The politics of cocoa board every now and then. And some say to a very large extent that has accounted for some of the challenges we are having now. And I'll come to you guys very shortly to get your thoughts on this. I'm sure a lot of you have some thoughts to share on this. So
you rightly captured the problem. I mean, the politics that we've been doing with the critical sector like the cocoa sector is what has brought us to where we are. And this is not an issue. You can't give what you don't have. Can you pay what you don't have? I mean, when we deregulated the petroleum sector, we should have gone ahead to deregulate the cocoa sector as well. Atuforsen gave certain solutions or remedies to the situation. And as a spokesperson for the United Party, it will be very difficult for me to kick against those reforms, because if I were to give you the GTP and you would read for your listeners or viewers to understand and just oppose it with what Atufossi say, why would I come here and then kick against it?
Among them, one of them, you say abolish the existing cocoa external loan syndication arrangement for the purchase of cocoa and issue domestic securities denominated in local currency for cocoa purchases.
Yes.
Interesting. And that's the cocoa bond.
That's the same. That's actually.
Yeah.
And you see, I just gave you this to let you understand that if you fail to plan, you'll be planning to fail. That is why the United Party, first of all, came up with a plan. The problems this country has, the solutions are in this book. It is the reason why when John Mahama won elections, and my leader, John Alanchamante, visited.
John Alanchamante.
Yes, the last John that will take over this country.
Okay.
He did not ask for positions, neither did he ask for any favors. What we wanted to do was to submit this great transformational plan. And I'm very happy that...
You think they took a key from you?
They have to. I mean, it's the solution. I can't believe for a moment that because of chop corruption, thievery, stealing, adults every year will go on the international market and borrow dollars to come and buy cedi-denominated product. The syndication is pure chop. It's not a novelty. There is nothing novel about it. People will get the arrangement fees, they will inflate the rates and so on and so forth. When it even comes, they shortchange the people. So we believe that there has to be that local security or issue of local security or bond to raise cities to go and buy cocoa. But most importantly, we are not even interested in Ghana shipping this cocoa in the raw form as captured in the GTP. We believe that 70 to 80% of our beans must be processed locally. When they tell you that the world market price of international of cocoa has dropped, it's not as though all of a sudden it dropped. People actually engineer it. And who are those? It is our Western nemesis. It's deliberate. So if they see that you are processing your cocoa, how would they be there engineering the prices?
Because I find it really interesting that the price could rise as high as 13,000, yes. Then all of a sudden drop.
It is strategy. It's people engineering. When they tell you open market, there is nothing open in this world. People actually engineer it. It's a demand and supply situation. You understand? So what you do, and that's why I like what Atufossi did. It's a masterstroke, give people and really understand how the world operates. First of all, he has announced that Ghana is going to what? Process 50%. Immediately, it sends shivers down there. That, hey, the people are now going to process. What it means is that you are going to deny their factories. Mind you, the factories are not in this country. In this country, we have the CPC. The rest of those processing cocoa, they actually processing it into semi-finished and exporting it. They are in the free zones. It is not for the local market. It is the CPC that can process it into finished products for you and I. And believe you me, the byproduct or the product from cocoa is not only Milo or chocolate.
Yeah.
Because if you have potash, it can lead you to what? Produce, what's the name? I forgot it, but you can get creams out of it, you can get drinks out of it, and so on and so forth, even for medicinal purposes. Why is it that more than 70 years or 63 years of our lives, we are still exporting our beans in a raw form? So the government has said it's a good thing, but where I have a difference whether or not they will be able to implement is the implementation. When the problem is that we quickly come out with a solution and then we all go and sleep. So I believe that the finance minister, together with this administration, must push forward for the processing of, at least for starters, 50%. Now the next thing they are saying is that they are not more going to go for.
In fact, the finance minister did indicate that the backlog that we failed to sell or export.
It's a good thing that is for the local market. It's a good thing.
And going forward, 50%.
You see, we started our politics with, like you were saying, petrol, in fact, kako.
Really?
Yeah, we started with that. And with time, all these things will be getting out of our way. I don't believe in there is cooperation after competition. We have a nation to govern, not politics always. The solutions that will take off our youth from the streets and get them the jobs. So I have to be part of the solution. As for the politics who come, as for the campaign, we will beat the National Democratic Congress with superior policies come 2028. So I'm not interested in these trivialities, but the way forward. So I agree with the finance minister when he says 50%. I agree with him when he says now they are going to issue locally denominated what? Securities or bonds to buy our cocoa. Perfect. I also agree with him when he says that they want to free the balance sheet of Cocoa Board so that it can start as a healthy company. All these are captured in the Great Transformational Plan. What I am disappointed in the NDC administration is how they were able to sit back for a whole year when they know there has been criminality at Cocoa Board. Only to be told right now that you are now going to conduct forensic audit. What forensic audit do you need when you were told that $350 million was contracted to rehabilitate 156,000 hectares of cocoa land? The money is finished, only 40,000 hectares was rehabilitated, and we cannot account for the remainder of that money. What forensic audit do we need again? But now people must be answering questions with the national Yoko and other places. And it's the same people who are organizing the press conference because you have seen your weaknesses. I have told this administration that if you want to cover up for the previous administration, it will come back to haunt you. It will come back to haunt you. Again, I agree with their strategy that they are now going to put in place a pricing mechanism. It's very important. So that, you see, and they think, politicians today must understand that the cocoa farmer you knew 10 years ago is not the same cocoa farmer today. Today we have professors, we have engineers, and so on, all engaged in cocoa farming. And so they know what pertains in the international market. That this morning, it has even reduced, dropped further. It is now hovering around $3,700. And we are not doing the forwards again. And I don't even believe in the forwards. Because if we are not doing the forwards, it has its challenges. When you do the forwards, when the prices go up, you can't take advantage of it. Just like happened in 2023, 2024, when we could not supply 767,000 tons, which equates to almost $900 million. That money should have been sitting even in the account. We don't know the whereabouts of that money. But when it went up and you had to do a rollover, just like Hamza was saying, whereas the world market was selling at 13,000, because we could not supply the previous contract at
so we cannot take advantage of the increase.
Take advantage of it.
But similarly, last year around, I think last year they were about, the price has also shot to about 10,000.
Yes,
that's 10,000. I understand there was some hedging. We had an opportunity to even do forward sales of the cocoa beans, which have now not even been sold. Even the 2026-27 cocoa beans, we could have done a forward sale, taking advantage of the 10,000 that happened last year. You know, because now it's reduced to 3,700.
Yeah, but you had a deficit to cover. You had a contract that you could not, as it were, deal with. So that difference, the rollover, you needed to still supply your vendor. And that's why we couldn't take advantage of that. But going forward, the emphasis must be on processing the beans locally. We must stop this business of always shipping everything in a raw form. And this must also send signal, especially in the gold sector, that now that the gold prices are high, we could also be facing the same problem. So immediately we must begin opening more processing plants so that we process our gold into semi-finished.
I think we started.
Yes, we have started, but it has to increase. But guess what? You see, the value of cocoa in the world market is about 150 billion. Ghana, from the time we started cocoa farming and cocoa business, we have not made more than 2 billion from the industry. So you ask yourself, together with Cote d'Ivoire, we are unable to make more than 6 billion. Who are the countries making the most from it? It's those that are not farming. How are they able to do that? You understand? Meanwhile, you need only $5 million to put up a huge cocoa processing plant. Divide $97 million that we have used to dig a hole by $5 million. Sometimes you have to expose the levels of ineptitude. How people are wicked to the people of this country. 97 million divided by 5 million. Baseball, computer doesn't lie. We could have put in place 19 big capacity cocoa processing companies that could process the beans in this country.
All right, let me just hear from our audience briefly, then I'll come to you. I'm sure Hamza has got some final thoughts on this. Then I want us to have just a quick bite on the vote buying issue and whether the way forward will look like, especially following NDC's position on what happened at the Ayawaso primary. A few comments on Facebook, however. This one says, Abdullah Abdul Razak says, President Mahama promised to end Galamsey in 4 months, but what has been the result? He asks. The Galamsey activities have worsened under this history worship. Fact remains, President Mahama doesn't have the political will to end Galamsey in the country. Kwame Mawuli Benjamin says, as for fuel price reduction, it is world market price that led to it. But as for cocoa price cuts, it is Mahama who is responsible, not world price effect. Prosper Rashid says, all these agenda is about the clueless and incompetent NDC government. Okay, great. Well, we'll try and get some more comment also on WhatsApp. Okay, we have to start with you again. Okay, let's start with someone who hasn't spoken. Okay, the guy in white, the gentleman in the middle there. You, yeah. No, so, okay. Yeah. So let's start with him. Okay, great.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
The lady also. Okay.
Everybody will speak.
All right. We'll hear from the lady.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Yeah. Over the weekend, I've listened to Dennis Abuaji Miracle's press conference. I've listened to him interview the cocoa farmers and everything that he has said. And I think that the lesson the NPP hasn't learned in opposition is that they still think Ghanaians are fools. But mind you, the Ghanaian farmer, as Mr. Owusu rightly said, the cocoa farmer that we knew some time ago is no longer the cocoa farmer that exists today. Because today's cocoa farmer are using AI, today's cocoa farmer are very well discerning, and so they are on top of issues. So I called my father, who is a cocoa farmer in the Volta region, Harvard to be specific, and I asked him about what he thinks about these things. And he gave me a very simple explanation. He said that cocoa prices are highly influenced by the world market prices. And so when the world market price increase, it is just expected that the local price will also increase. And when the world market price decreases or falls, the local price will also fall. And so I don't get the whole point that the NPP is pointing out, but I thought that the NPP would have pointed out and claimed responsibility for the crisis that they left in the cocoa sector. When you stated that they left us in a debt of almost 32.9 billion Ghana cedis, right? The syndicated loans, how they collapsed it, how they left cocoa road contracts overhaul. And I have a list of some other things that they also did, if you permit me to just highlight.
Yeah, just briefly. Do that briefly so that I can hear from
how the cocoa lost market gains, about $2,600, how the syndicated loans collapsed, how there was a massive supply default, over 333,000 tons of cocoa were left and not delivered, how they spent $48 million on the importation of jute sacks and chemicals that have been left in at the port. So these are issues that we must face. And trust me, now that we are doing a reset, President John Dramani Mahama has come out with something clear that what now we are going to process our own cocoa because the local producers have expressed interest.
Great. Let's hear from it. I'm sure the lady wants to have a bite. We haven't heard my feminine voice yet this morning. So is the lady ready to speak? Oh, great.
Thank you so much.
Let him speak, then I'll come to you. Yeah. You have your take. Just
Ms. Bob, thank you so much. Today happens to be Vows Day, and in some way we call it Chocolate Day or Chocolate Day. And chocolate is a product of cocoa. And it's very sad that our cocoa farmers are going through this. In fact, these are some of the promises the NDC give to our cocoa farmers. One, there's a regular increase. Regular price increase for farmers. Two, restore bonus payments. Three, healthcare for communities for cocoa farmers. Free health insurance for cocoa farmers. And even now, their first promise, regular increase. And they are suffering. And now, when it comes to, it sounds so funny when I heard that the president has taxed the AG to investigate or to investigate the
conduct a forensic audit.
I felt it's so funny because Dr. Oponi was in court. Because of the mayor's created in the cocoa board. Dr. Oponi was in court. And this same AG came and closed that case in court. And they are telling him to conduct a forensic audit for the past 8 years. What happened to Dr. Oponi's case? Why can't we appeal there? Now, also, when the price of crude oil were dropping in the global market, we were all saying Ato was forcing. We were all happy. Ato is forcing. Now that the price of cocoa is falling, now you don't blame MPP. They've been in power for about a year and a quarter, and they are still blaming the MPP for this. I don't get it. Ato is really forcing. Yes, Ato is forcing. Ato is really forcing the cocoa farmers into poverty. Ato is really forcing the cocoa farmers to smuggle their cocoa into Ivory Coast.
All right, great.
Ato is really forcing.
All right, great. All right, then let's hear from
Thank you so much. This issue of cocoa pricing is all about arithmetic. Ato forcing made a statement that the cocoa farmers should be paid close to 6,000 back in opposition. It is true today and it's true as at that time. Because as at then, the price of a bag of cocoa was sold at 10,000 Ghana, a ton. That's equivalent to 16 bags of cocoa, was equivalent to $10,000. When you convert it into cedis, a bag of cocoa as at then was 9,300 cedis, and the government was giving cocoa farmers 3,100, which means the government was taking 2/3 of the amount we are generating from a bag of cocoa. So as at then, Ato Forson was advocating that the farmers should be given at least 2/3 of what they are in the farms making. And now we are in a situation whereby the price of cocoa has dropped to an amount of a bag is now at the world market sold at 2,700 Ghana cedis when you convert it into cedis. And we are now, and now the government is making not less than 300 cedis out from a bag of cocoa. When back in 2024, the government was making 6,000 Ghana cedis plus from a bag of cocoa. So I think I strongly stand with the decision whereby we start processing our own cocoa so that we send a message to Belgium and co, because Belgium doesn't produce cocoa, but the best chocolate in this world comes from Belgium.
Okay, interesting. I think we have a lady who also wants to speak. The lady, right? Let's hear from you now. We can hear from you. Okay, great. Okay, great. No problem. No stress. No stress. Okay, let me come to. You want to say something? Oh, great. Go ahead. We're hoping to hear from your voice. So just touch on it and move on.
So good morning, and so first of all, I'm happy with the reforms that NDC is making. I think that's what we need to match the current farming system, where quoting from what Solo said, now the farmers are not the regular farmers we knew. These are high-tech. So if the reforms are going to match the farmers now, I think that's great. And the vote for NDC is for accountability and transparency. So I think they should sit up and work for Ghana.
Okay, great. Let's come to Hamza now. You've got some final thoughts on this one.
Well, it is very, very difficult to disagree with my brother Solo, especially when it comes to the concerns that he has raised on the issue of the audit. But I don't think that an audit has not been conducted. The directive is to conduct a forensic audit. And I agree with you that the timing is a bit problematic. And so maybe we need more explanation as to why it had to take this long for that directive to be given. Government would have the requisite information to be able to respond to that concern. It's a concern that I've not heard not only from Solo, but I've heard that from a number of people, especially when that directive was given. And it is only fair that they are provided with the information as to why government decided to wait this long to issue such a directive. I do not have access to that information.
I think in the case of the National Service...
No, I'm making references in relation to Cocoa Board.
Yeah, I'm just making the point that in the case of National Service Authority, an audit was conducted, and based on what was found in the audit, then they proceeded to do a forensic audit to try and get more information. So maybe, I'm just thinking maybe that's what informed.
Yes. So maybe, but the timing of the directive, regardless, even if an audit was done, and now we have come out with a directive at the time that the cocoa sector is going through problems. Naturally, people like him would be justified to ask the questions that he's asking. Why this time? Ought to have been done earlier. And so, yes, possibly there's an explanation as to why it had to be this time. And sometimes, if the information is available, it is only proper that we make it public. And I can assure you that I will try as much as possible to link up with those I know would have access to that information and attempt to provide the information information to you and the general public who are interested. But on the issue of the cocoa prices, he's done justice to it and needed reforms. And I agree with him that those plans are part of the manifesto, or what you call the plan of the United Party. And remember that when you presented it to His Excellency President Mahama, when your flag bearer presented it to you, His Excellency President Mahama, he gave an assurance that he would read through and take the best ideas that he finds workable and be able to work out something for many of our sectors, not just the cocoa sector alone. So for me, it's a vindication of the man who is at the helm of the affairs, how tolerant he is, especially when it comes to divergent views, and also views that he believes can help shape the future of this country, regardless of where that view is coming from. His Excellency President Mahama would be more than willing to take it on board if it will inure to the benefit of the Ghanaian people.
Do you know whether the cocoa farmers have received their money as at now?
No. I think that the directive was given on Thursday. So I would not be in a position, but by next week, I'm sure I'll be in a better position to inform you whether indeed they have started receiving their monies or not. But as I speak with you, I doubt if they have, because you know that releases goes through a certain procedure. And so that procedure has to be followed for releases to be made to the cocoa board, and cocoa board in turn would make releases to the cocoa farmers. But as for the usual politics associated with it, the NPP can be forgiven to still continue to engage in that politics. The NDC has gone past that arena of politics. We have been given a job by the Ghanaian people to do. We will not waste precious time attempting to disabuse the minds of MPP and its communicators on issues they ought to know better and fail the larger picture of actually addressing the concerns of the Ghanaian people. So for us, when the political season is apt, we would come on board with our track record, the problems we inherited, how we've been able to fix it. But for now, our focus is on the job of governance. They can continue their propaganda, they can continue ranting on social media platforms, on national television platforms. That would not dissuade the National Democratic Congress government from doing what it ought to do.
There's this concern that has come up, and I just love to hear thoughts on that. This new pricing scheme was, of course, largely because of the world price dropping, the need for government to be realistic about it. And the new measures that have been rolled up is to ensure a certain automatic pricing based on the world market price. Is government really sure that they can stick to it? Because what you're likely to have, Solo, is a situation where the prices might keep falling. And if the prices keep falling, then you're talking about a situation where the price from 256 as it has now might keep going down. And politically, the cost of that politically is down.
Yeah, you see, that has been the problem of this country. The problem has always been the political implications of policy decisions. And the NDC is not that kind of a political party, I can assure you. The farmers themselves have welcomed this automatic price adjustment failure. But mind you, the NDC is also a social democratic party. So if the prices gets to a stage that becomes worrying and has the tendency of affecting the yields for the next year, the NDC will not resist the temptation to throw out subsidies in the cocoa sector. Remember, that was the situation we had in the petroleum industry before we went for the partial deregulation, where even in the automatic adjustment of prices, there were instances that when the prices were so high, government had to come on board in the form of subsidies to cushion the consumers. So I foresee a situation where that is possible, that is practicable. But however, like NPA is doing now, by setting the price floor, I foresee in the future, Cocoa Board being mandated to also set a price floor. And if it falls below that price floor, then maybe the profits that Cocoa Board generated over the years a chunk of that profit would be used to subvent or to give to the cocoa farmers in the form of subsidies, so that at least we increase yield for the next year.
And maybe these inputs should be considered in the bill, shouldn't it? There should be some of these possible scenarios.
Absolutely. That is why the bill is going before Parliament. Yeah. Discussions would be had in the House. Suggestions would be made. And at the end of the day, we would have a workable bill that we can all be proud of. But like Muswell, you see, these discussions today, I agree with Solo, that these are discussions or plans that ought to have been implemented way back, especially in 2024, when it was clear that Ghana or syndicated loan was becoming a problem after 32 years of implementation. Any proactive government ought to have looked into that matter critically. We missed that opportunity. Now we have the opportunity to deal with the matter. And I'm interested in payments to our cocoa farmers. Let us track the directives that have been given and ensure in the latest that those payments begin going to them, because in truth, many of them are struggling. Many of them are suffering. Regardless of the fact that what they are going through today is far more accommodating than what they went through in 2023. Remember I told you in 2023, maybe because many of you were not interested, and the president of the Licensed Buyers Association of Cocoa Buyers made that point, that for 9 good months, cocoa farmers were not paid.
Interesting. Very profound. But I want us to wrap up. We just got a few minutes to end it. And Solomon, I just wanted you to have a little take on what happened earlier in the week. You heard from the General Secretary of the NDC. Were you surprised by the outcome of that? The committee did indicate that all the candidates were found culpable to have engaged in one misconduct or the other. Were you surprised the party could not do what everybody was expecting them to do?
Yeah, I was. I thought
even the minority caucus called for.
I thought that they would have selected. I mean, bar all those that two parties in the process and select, just like what the United Party tends to do in various constituencies. That, well, you see, a candidate runs for the political party. It is your candidate. You give an opportunity for them to contest. They decided to flout the laws of the land, the constitution of the land. They went and bribed people. Your own report says that indeed it took place. So what else? You just have to nail it by saying, look, all of you, sit aside. This man is contesting on our ticket. I tell you, by now their image will be to the roof. Or they would have done something to turn the narrative. But as it is, believe you me, people are in various positions amassing wealth to go and depose those who are currently occupying various seats. And you deal with such issues by sending a strong signal. As we speak, Baba Jama is fractured. He's fractured because the NDC itself says that he induced voters. His situation is just like the Panda MP.
But he denied. He denied it.
No, he couldn't deny. He's on tape. I mean, I listened to him saying that what's wrong. He says he didn't give those TVs to induce the people. What are you talking about?
He later came to speak that he did not give.
No, we heard him. I don't forget about the afterthought. We heard him.
Interesting. So
it's not about Baba Jama alone. It's about the Hajia herself. And all those that took part. You see, we are monetizing our body politics too much.
Interesting. Well, I don't know if you want to...
Yes, why not? You see, it is the position of the National Democratic Congress that when it comes to vote buying, is something that ought to be condemned. And since 92, what we witnessed last week or so, we've never witnessed anything of that measure, where on the basis of media reports, the party proceeded to issue a strongly worded statement condemning vote buying in the Yaosi East primaries. This has never happened. We witnessed vote buying in all manner of shapes and forms under the erstwhile NPP administration. No single statement ever came from party condemning such activity. So that is an important step to the extent that the National Democratic Congress as a party thought it prudent to issue a statement to condemn. It is something that we need to comment.
Well, we need to be wrapping up.
No, Musba, yes. But this is important. This is important. His Excellency President Mahama also proceeded to act on the basis of that report by recalling Baba Jamal from Nigeria. And many seem to underrate the effect or the implications of that. If His Excellency wanted to recall Baba Jamal, he would have done that long ago. What it simply meant that Baba Jamal still had an opportunity to go back to Nigeria, even if he had lost in the main election. But that opportunity has been taken away. And there are those who ask why the NDC, upon establishing that indeed vote buying happened, why didn't they cancel the results? And I simply refer them to the established legal principles of this country as expressed in the 2012 election petition and that of the 2020 election petition. You remember that the Supreme Court took a position that when it comes to annulling results, it is an important thing that caution must be exercised. And that's why even the absence of returning officers' signatures on the pink sheets did not qualify to ensure nullification of those results, because it is always about the rights of not just the candidates but even the voters as well. And that's why the NDC was conflicted in that decision.
Thank you very much, Hamza, for coming. Thank you so much for coming, and also to our studio audience, thank you so much for coming. We have to leave for Prime Sports Extra, and of course Kamaldeen also had to attend to something urgent, so he had to make leave. Ivan also was supposed to be here, but could not make it because something did come up very shortly. Thank you very much for your time. We'll be back same time next week.